Well, thank you guys. I understand. Thank you guys, first of all, for coming to this event here. It is really important. You are the ambassadors for this issue. Lawmakers work for you, not vice versa. And I know sometimes that's how it feels. So you are the ones that we work for, and we listen to our community. I want to give a special shout out to Tatiana. Her work, she was, and her voice for young people is the reason why we're here, and frankly, it's the reason that we do this work. As Latricia said, my name is Jeff Hayden. I represent South Minneapolis. I'm the assistant minority leader in the Minnesota Senate, and I'm proud to represent not only South Minneapolis, but the state as a whole. And I was very proud, along with Representative Moran, to sponsor the advocacy and outreach and education dollars that went in to continue to help us figure out what menthol does. I have to be honest with you. I followed this issue around smoking. I followed the issue of kind of the history of it and what happened and all of the additives that were added to smoking to make us addicted. But what I didn't understand was this issue of menthol cigarettes until I was able to work with Molly and others, Patricia and Stella, to say that not only was it bad for everybody, but it was particularly bad for people of color, young people, and African Americans, and it was an intentional strategy. It was an intentional strategy. And so as we start to deal with this issue, and as we start to walk back this issue, we hear a lot about equity, right? And we hear a lot about health care in the news. Well, this is the sweet spot of that issue. This is about health care, public health care, and health care policy. Most of us know all of the things that happen when you smoke. One of the stats that I heard early on is you would live 30% longer if you just simply didn't smoke. Right? No matter what else you do. You can eat all barbecue you want. If you don't smoke, you live just a little bit longer. Is that right? My good friend Al Flowers is here, right, helping us out on this coalition. So as we start to figure these issues out, and we know that it is imperative that we do everything we can. And I want it to look like, I want you guys to think about it like this on a very practical level, because we're going to have this policy discussion at the Minneapolis City Council. I thought I saw Cam Gordon. Thanks, Cam, and the badge for authoring. And we're going to have this conversation about what happens, why this, is it paternalistic or why? Well, let me say this to you. We're already paternalistic. We say, listen, here's where liquor can be bought, right? It can't be bought at every single store because we know that liquor has a particular issue and it needs to be handled by adults that understand all of the risk factors that are there. Not long ago, we had a methamphetamine crisis. People were using Sudafed as the active ingredient, and guess what we did as a state? We said you can't have it on the counters in Walgreens. You got to put it back there by the pharmacists. So essentially, that's all we're doing. We're just simply saying you can't do it. If you're an entrepreneur and you want to start a tobacco shop, so be it. But what we're saying is we want to take special care. We know that young people are buying cigarettes when they buy their Doritos, and maybe they shouldn't buy those, but they are. When they buy their pop, and we want to take special precaution. We actually want to make sure that those vendors and operators of these convenience stores, we're just going to take that out of your hand. You ain't got to worry about that no more. Right? We're going to send it to a tobacco shop, and if you want to open up one of those, there's no ordinance yet that's stopping you from doing that. I'm not saying you should, but there's not. So what we're simply saying is we want to take special precaution, and that is, there's a precedence for that. Right? So when you start to hear the arguments, think about it. We do that. Now here's the part where I have my personal story. Like almost everybody else here, my grandmother, Verla Lee Barbie, she lived for 40 years at 1350 Washburn, died of COPD. Stella knows. A lot of people here know her. Now she outlived, she spent 10 or 15 years on an oxygen tank. Many of you guys know my father. It's Peter Hayden's mother, if you happen to know who he is around here. And she died of COPD, and we saw her, and she said every single day it felt like there was an elephant on her chest. She could not gain weight because all of her energy was to breathe. On a day like today, we would spend a lot of time with her to ensure that her air conditioner works, because as the air got thick, she wouldn't be able to breathe. That's the reality of it. We see the commercials, we see stuff. That was a woman who lived 50 years 6 blocks from here in North Minneapolis. So we all kind of have that story, and that's what we want to do. So as we start to figure out what are the things that we're going to do to protect our children, what is the education and outreach that we're going to do to let people know, hopefully slowly but surely. I see Vivian here do some behavior modification, right? It's our resident emeritus social worker here. We're going to start to give education and let people know what the dangers of these issues are. So as we start to think about this issue, go tell your friends, go tell everyone else, and let them know that this is an important issue. And listen, the tobacco companies have a right to be here. The tobacco companies have a right to do whatever they want to do. But what we want to send is a very loud signal to the tobacco companies that this ain't going to work no more. That the okie doke is over, right? That we understand what you're trying to do with us. And once we get this done, let's put them on notice. We're going to stop this. We're going to raise this to 21 years old statewide. Right? In a bipartisan way. In a bipartisan authorship this year. And municipalities are starting to do it and talk about preemption and local control. Cities are the innovation, right, of good policy, and that's what we're doing today. And a personal issue of mine, because I like to kind of frequent places where adults have adult drinks. You know what I mean? And this coupon issue, where they come in and they give coupons to people in order to drive the price down, 2-for-1s and 3-for-1s. They're targeting our community as well, and I have a bill. I can't quite get it yet through this particular legislature, but we have a bill for that. So let's not only pass this, but let's send a strong message to the tobacco industry that you probably need to set up shop here, because Minnesota is going to fight you head and toe to try to get you out of our people's lives. So once again, guys,